According to ESPN NFL insider Adam Schefter, Nick Sirianni is safe and he is not going to get fired. A lot of thoughts on that, and I know the fans want to speak up in the comment section, so feel free to do that because a lot of people have been fed up with this football team this year, and they think that it all starts and ends with Nick Sirianni, but I'm going to tell everybody why they need to relax. We're going to take a look at what Adam Schefter had to say, and I'm going to explain some of the good things that Sirianni has done, but the adjustments and the changes that he does need to make. First, today's show is sponsored by Prize Picks. If you're into playing daily fantasy sports and you haven't downloaded the Prize Picks app yet, you're making a huge mistake, and the Prize Picks app has the best deal that any DFS app has to offer, a $100 deposit match at prizepicks.com/CLNS and use the code CLNS. What that means is you put in $100, you get $100 back, and you can play daily fantasy. The selections that we like going into Week 18. Bijan Robinson has been missing over the last couple of weeks for the Atlanta Falcons. He's had a pretty solid rookie year. If the Eagles were to have drafted him, I think he would have had a much better year. But we're going to go less than 66.5 rushing yards, also going up against a pretty solid Saints defense. And then the Cowboys are playing for the NFC East title on the road against the Commanders. More than 99.5 receiving yards for CD Lamb. I know he's a Cowboy, but he's been having a great year. That feels like a given. So prizepicks.com/CLNS, code CLNS for that $100 deposit match. That link is available for you down in the comments section as well as in the description of this video. So is Nick Sirianni safe? Is he off the hot seat? Or did a hot seat never exist? This is what Adam Schefter had to say on 97.5 The Fanatic this week. I don't think that they are firing Nick Sirianni. I do think there will be changes. His assistants, we've already begun to see them. There will be more. They aren't going to stand pat. That's not the way that the Philadelphia Eagles do things. But they've gone to the playoffs in 3 of 3 years. You're not firing a coach that has gone to the playoffs every year that he has coached the team. Look, everybody watching right now, I get that things are ugly. And Nick Sirianni is partially to blame for the Eagles turning it over, bad communication issues, countless penalties, for this Eagles offense being erratic, not creative enough, old school, and at times looking like a high school offense. But the thought of firing Nick Sirianni, given how much he's won in Philadelphia so far, what he's accomplished, I think it's just too soon. Now, if things are ugly next year, we can have that conversation. But this year, let's wait to see what Philadelphia is able to do in the playoffs. I posted a poll on our community tab right here on Eagles Now because I had some people come up to me in the Chat Sports office. And I'm one of the only people from Philadelphia. And a lot of people don't understand the intensity and the passion of this city. And my buddy Harrison Graham, who covers the Chicago Bears, he said, I've never seen a fan base melt down like Eagles fans are melting down right now. Keep in mind, he's covering the Bears. They've been a bad team for a really, really long time. The Eagles, really since the turn of 2000, have been a well-run organization that's had a lot of success. 7 NFC championship games and 3 Super Bowl appearances. They've won the second most playoff games in the NFL since 2000 behind the New England Patriots. So I wanted to post this poll for him to show him. Eagles fans are not messing around. They are fired up. And I posted this question. Do you want the Eagles to fire Nick Sirianni? And as of right now, 8,500 votes, 60% no, 40% yes. But that 40% yes is pretty damn high considering what Sirianni has done with the Eagles. Rookie year, year one of a rebuild. Birds go 9-8. They started 2-5. They started off as a pass-happy team. Sirianni was the play caller. He gave up his play calling duties. I thought that was being cognizant of what was happening with the Eagles offense and a smart move. Hands it over to Shane Steichen, who did great work with Justin Herbert, ended up doing great work with Jalen Hurts, and now he's crushing it with the Indianapolis Colts. And the Eagles in the process go from a pass-happy team to a run-heavy team. They changed their identity to fit their personnel. Part of the job of a coach. And then last year, yes, Howie Roseman did a great job in compiling all the talent on this Eagles roster. But the Eagles had a special, magical season. 14-3, number one seed in the NFC. They won an NFC championship, and they should have won the Super Bowl. And how often do we see Super Bowl hangovers? This year, the Eagles were able to kind of avoid that a little bit. They got off to a 10-1 start. Things haven't looked the same, and they definitely haven't been as easy as they were last year. And some of the problems that have risen concern me because Sirianni prides himself on fundamentals and the team being in sync, ball security, good coaching, player development, and some of the things have been missing this year. But it's almost as if the Eagles just had an awful 2023 year and they were a bad football team, everybody would just chalk it up as a Super Bowl hangover, and the pressure on Nick Sirianni would be less as compared to the expectations being sky high after that 10-1 start. Yes, they've lost 4 of 5, but they're still playoff bound. And what if they go on another run here? What are people going to be saying about Nick Sirianni? I also thought it was telling that after those reports that A.J. Brown was frustrated with Sirianni and this coaching staff, he said on Wednesday in a very open, honest, raw, and real interview, we ride with Nick Sirianni as well as Brian Johnson. He said the coaches haven't played any snaps. It's on us, and we simply haven't executed. He also explained how Nick Sirianni made himself look dumb by defending Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown for the final play against the Seattle Seahawks, where A.J. Brown said in that interview that Hurts and Brown kind of freestyled a little bit. And that's what caused Nick Sirianni to defend them by saying we were playing for the pass interference call, which if that was true would have made no sense at all. So for Sirianni to go to bat and go to war for his players, that's what you want in a coach. And Nick Sirianni has been able to do that. A.J. Brown even commended him for doing that and said, not all coaches do that. And yes, this Eagles offense has struggled in 2023 as we flip the page to 2024. But this has still been a pretty productive offensive unit, and Sirianni does have his fingerprints on this offense. Like A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith both had 1,000 yards at that wide receiver spot, and DeAndre Swift, for the first time in his career, surpassed 1,000 yards rushing. And I think a lot of the blame for the Eagles' struggles this year have been the defense. They can't get off the field. They're not doing the offense any favors at all. And even with this Eagles offense struggling and not being the same unit, 7th in points per game, 8th in yards per game, 6th in points per play, which is actually better than they were last year, 2nd and 3rd down percentage, 7th in touchdowns per game. Defense, though, you look at the numbers to your right of the screen, they have been dreadful and one of the worst units, not just in the NFL this year, but in the history of the NFL. And look, don't get me wrong. Like, I get being critical of the head coach. Totally get it. The coaching staff deserves plenty of criticism here. And Sirianni did hire Brian Johnson, who a lot of you don't like, and I'm not sure he's going to be back. And he did hire Sean Desai. But the Eagles offense has still produced solid numbers against tougher teams. And with that 10-1 start, everything was kind of working well up until the gauntlet of the schedule, where I think the Eagles have just looked like a tired and worn down team after playing for the Super Bowl in February. How Sirianni can improve, again, I will be critical of him. And I've said all of this on the show ad nauseum, and we've had some really good breakdowns. Need more offensive creativity. I want to see more pre-snap motion. I need to see better communication in getting plays in and the right personnel packages in. I want to see Nick Sirianni and this Eagles offense have an answer for some of these zero blitzes, because the lack of answers for zero blitzes is confounding and mind-numbing. And Nick Sirianni at times, while I like his authenticity, and I think he's a perfect fit for Philadelphia, which is crazy that so many people want him fired because he's peak Philadelphia, has to do a better job of keeping his emotions in check at times, because sometimes with how the team acts, it operates off of how the coach carries himself. Going back to point number 4 here, an answer for zero blitzes. Jalen Hurts has been zero blitzed more than any quarterback in the National Football League this year, 56 times. Second most quarterback, 44 times. Hurts' EPA per play, expected points added, it's basically the war version for football against the zero blitz, minus .32. That ranks 30th in the NFL. So when I say I want answers for some of these zero blitzes, a hot route, a bubble screen, a tight end screen, something to make Jalen Hurts' life a little bit easier. And maybe Hurts, on that same note, can do a better job of identifying that blitz. So we round out the segment with this. Should Sirianni's job be safe? I'm typing S for safe right now. Or is he on the hot seat? Type H for hot seat. You share with us how you're feeling about the Eagles head coach and let us know.